Tammy, I've heard through students and also some adults that there may be some families that may be fearful in relation to completing the census. Can you tell me a little bit about the confidentiality of the information they provide, as well as where the information goes?
Um, all census information is closed for 72 years. So once it's been put into a database, they shred all the forms. These forms really, in this year's census, only ask a very few questions. They ask name, number of people in the house, do you rent, do you own? Really, it is a 10-minute kind of form. Then later, they'll do larger ongoing throughout each year, ongoing surveys that are more extensive that help determine different questions. But the thing about this is all census employees and the census gives about, I don't know, multiple thousands of jobs for short-term jobs through probably September. And for this town, for Berwyn, we have about 350 jobs that's created for the census. But these people each take an oath saying that they won't share any of this information. And the penalties are huge, 5 years in prison, $250,000 in fines. This is not something that, the Census Bureau has really done a lot to really protect people's information. If we are undercounted, then the libraries will be underfunded, the schools will be underfunded, our hospitals are everything is determined on these numbers, and we're stuck with them for 10 years. So they have about 350-ish, about $30 million a year. It ends up being about $3 trillion in funds that go down to the states, and we want to make sure Berwyn gets its share.
Is there any other information that you'd like to share with the community and our students regarding the census?
Just watch for the forms starting March 15th, and encourage your parents or help your parents fill those out.
I want to thank you for this opportunity, Tammy, for sharing the information about the census, as well as encourage everyone to take part in the census 2010. Thanks.
What is the census?
The census is the population count conducted by the United States government, and it tells our government and all of us how many people are living in specific towns, states, and in the country as a whole.
Why should students care about the census?
Well, the census is what the government's going to use to, a lot of the funding that the government pays out for and federal aids is going to be based on what the census, how many people live in your different communities.
Why should students care about the census?
Census is democracy in action. This is an opportunity for students to really be counted in the population.
Why should students care about the census?
The census is a count of how many people are here in our country, and especially in the town of Cicero. And the more people we have, the more people we can get tax revenue for, which helps the school.
Students should care about the census because, one, they're going to get a grade for it, and because it's going to affect them in the future. I have mostly juniors, and so the juniors are going to be preparing for college soon, and some of the census will be giving them financial aid, like government grants and scholarships and things like that.
Why should students care about the census?
Well, the students should care about the census because of the funding that we receive here at the school. The more students and the more people that get counted for here in the Cicero area, the Berwyn area, all the area that serves District 201, all the Morton high schools, the more people that we get here, the more funding that we are eligible for.
It's important for students to care about the census because the results that are reported from the census directly impact their community in terms of funding received for schools, public works, hospitals.
Why should students care about the census?
Well, a lot of school funding comes from the census. When parents and students complete the census, we know how many students or how many children are living in a household, so then we can prepare for classroom sizes and funding from the government.
Why should students care about the census?
Well, the 2010 census will be used for many different things. It is used to determine, for one thing, our representation in the House of Representatives. And secondly, the government uses the census to provide funding to communities for hospitals, roads, schools. So it means more money for Cicero if they have an accurate count.
Why should students care about the census?
Students should care about the census because the census gives us lots of vital information about American culture, and the census information will be used in order to decide how many representatives we will get in the House of Representatives, which would eventually allow us to affect legislation in a way that's beneficial for our students and the people of Illinois.
Why should students care about the census?
Because it's your future. it's a lot to do with your future and programs that will be brought to the area based upon what the census results are.
What are students in social studies classes learning about the census this year?
First and foremost, what it is, what it's used for. They're learning how it impacts their lives and their parents' lives, and then also I think they're learning how this is an opportunity for the citizen to become involved in government.
What are students in social studies classes learning about the census this year?
They're learning that it happens every 10 years, and you should answer truthfully because the community gets the right amount of taxes when you do.
What are students in social studies classes learning about the census this year?
I know in my class we talked about the history of the census, its importance, when it was started, why it was started.
What are students in social studies classes learning about the census this year?
Well, in government, we tell them, and they learn, the students learn that the representatives, the House of Representatives is adjusted per state every time there's a census. So the more people are in each state, the possibility of them achieving another representative in Congress is possible, and that will increase the amount of information that representatives give to the United States Congress about their state. And there's also a possibility that with more representatives, more attention will be focused on their state and they can get more done.